going on, everybody? This is a Pro Wrestling Wire podcast, part of ProWrestlingWire.net AIWF network, and of course, each and every Wednesday night, 9 to 11 p.m., Helix Rock Radio. That's helixrockradio.live on the internet dial, and you can just listen to great rock and roll in the meantime. Today, my guest is a referee out of the Midwest, Ref Gregory James. How's it going?
Not too bad. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me today. Let's talk a little bit about your wrestling career. I've came across your credentials, I guess you could say, and you've been refereeing for about what, roughly 2022, correct?
Yeah, June of 2022 was my first show.
How did you get into the world of professional wrestling, and what made you interested?
Of course, it's a lot of the people involved with business, whether it be excuse me, wrestlers, referees, whatever the case may be. Always watched it as a kid. Watched NWA, of course, WWF, WWE, even AWA, back in the 80s. Kind of aging myself a little bit, but grow up, watching it with my dad, and then my son, watched it with him as he was getting older, and just kind of went from there. Then my son started a promotion called No Regrets Wrestling here in Wisconsin. And when he was growing up, he always wanted to be a wrestler. He always said, "Hey, Dad, did you ever want to be a wrestler?" I'm like, "No, never really wanted to wrestle, but I thought being a referee would be cool." Seeing like Mike Chioda and Earl and Dave Hebner, all those guys, through the years and whatnot. Always wanted to be a ref, wanted to try it out. Well, when he started his promotion back in 2022, he's like, "Hey, you still interested?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I was thinking it'd be like a 1, maybe 2 shot deal. Here it is, 2.5 years later, excuse me, and I'm still doing it.
You mentioned the AWA, which you're in the AWA territory historically, so you're missing out on like referee Gary DeRusha and guys like that as well, Dick Worley.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, too many of the referees back in the day there, but I remember, Scott Hall, who of course, was with the Outsiders and whatnot, and
yeah,
obviously recently passed away. He was AWA back when I watched it.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, it's how long I've been watching it,
Yeah, I was a huge. Well, going back to it one more time, it was like I was a huge AWA fan growing up. I live in Connecticut. It came on ESPN each, every afternoon between that and World Class. I would swap places every so often, so I got to know both companies pretty well.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah. So talk about your son's promotion a little bit.
Yeah, he started it back in 2022 with a buddy of his from high school. Of course, they grew up huge wrestling fans.
Mm-hmm.
My son did a little bit of training in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. With he used to be he was known as Hornswoggle back in WWE.
Mm-hmm.
Trained him for a while. After all, he decided that the actual wrestling itself wasn't really his thing, but he wanted to be more in the promotion and kind of behind the scenes aspect a little bit more with it.
Yeah, the business side
more
of
on the
it.
business end. Yeah. So he kind of turned over to that. Like I said, then him and his buddy started their promotion and kind of went from there.
What kind of crowds do you guys get out there?
Pretty decent.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, I've reffed, in front of between 20 people and hundreds of people. I mean, I did a show at one of our local fairs. It was an outside show. So, you had people, passing just in general, plus also people there for the actual wrestling. So, I mean, I don't have an exact count on how many, but
yeah,
it was packed. It was definitely a packed area.
The fair circuit's a little bit of a different circuit. It's kind of like whoever's kind of hanging out at the fair might, like you said, just kind of walking by and be like, "Oh, there's wrestling," and sometimes those companies use like bigger names to come in. Sometimes to draw people in. Sometimes for that.
Yeah, we've had the shows I've been on. We had Renee Michelle, Heath Slater. I was able to work with him about a month or so back with a promotion that I'm with here in Wisconsin. Super nice guy, super down to earth. You
Yeah,
know,
we I interviewed him right when he left WWE the last time, and it was probably a month or two after. Very super nice guy.
yep, yep.
Yeah.
I've also, been able to work with the Rock and Roll Express. Had the chance to work with them. Some NWA guys, like Marche Rocket, Brothers of Funstruction.
Mhm.
Um, Worked with them. Just had a blast, with everybody that I've come into contact with and had the privilege of working with.
Right, right. I see that you worked for Chicago Style Wrestling.
Um, I have not as of yet.
You haven't yet. Okay, my bad.
No, I have not. That's all right. I did go to Illinois though for Destination Six.
Okay.
I've been hoping to work with Chicago Style, but I've not had the opportunity as of yet. But hopefully soon.
Is that the one that's the NWA territory? Or is that a completely different
Um,
company?
yeah, they have some NWA people I think there.
Yeah.
You know, a few promotions do around here, like Frozen Tundra here in Wisconsin, who's one of my main promotions. That's where I've worked with Marche Rocket, who's also NWA,
Right.
Brothers of Construction. All those guys have kind of go back and forth. So
Right. 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 Let's see. I think that you just had posted that you had your final show of 2024.
yes, Friday night, group out of Milwaukee area, ICW Milwaukee. Um, it was a blast. Just started working with them this year. In fact, in August, I believe was my first show with them. Caught on with them. Going to be working with them in this upcoming year. It's a great time. Super nice people.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've only been doing it about 2 years. I've only been involved in the professional wrestling industry probably about five, honestly. So not too much longer than you. I started as a podcaster, kind of, and then taking photos at ringside, and then I got involved in commentary by chance. Basically, somebody was like, "Well, we need somebody. Would you be interested?" Because I said, "Hell." I was nervous as all hell, but I've had
Right.
radio and broadcasting uh, um, history, and so I did it. And covering wrestling, it's just, and I ended up having the time of my life. Is that kind of like? Would you say something like that was kind of like how it played out with you? Kind of like you went out there, refereed, and and ended up being just way better than you expected it to be.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I started with my son's promotion. I thought it was a 1-2 shot deal. I mean, I'll be
Mm-hmm.
honest with you. Just kind of help him out a little bit because he was getting his start, on the promotional side of it.
Right.
Then I caught on with another promotion, who my son would kind of rent the ring from. I kind of came in contact with them in that way. They needed a ref one night, and contacted my son, say, "Hey, is your dad still refereeing? Would he be available so and so weekend?" And been with them ever since. Been able to catch on with a few other promotions. I mean, a couple of them been one-off deals, but
Right.
definitely I've had the time of my life. Last 2.5 years, kind of an escape from reality almost. Where you kind of forget everything going on in the outside, and you know,
That, yeah, that's how it is for me. It's I work probably 60 hours a week between two jobs, and then it's Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays. I get to do wrestling stuff mostly. You know what I mean? Between traveling from Connecticut, Massachusetts, sometimes New York or whatever, and it's just it's in the last few years, and 2024 has gotten way busier than it was 2022 or 2023, and it's kind of amazing. It's just an amazing feeling. It's a release, like you said,
yep,
get rid of all the BS.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And 2025, I can only imagine is going to be better. I know that I've lined up a lot of stuff that I'm just looking forward to just in the first 4 months of the year.
Yeah, my 2025 so far, I mean, if I can get outside of Wisconsin a little bit more, that'd be great.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm happy with, being in Wisconsin for now. If something pops up, down in Illinois or Minnesota again, so be it. But I do have several promotions that I'm going to be starting to work with and in the state here
Yeah.
that I'm definitely looking forward to. You know.
Right. Right. Were you a fan as a kid? Or
Oh yeah,
obviously you said that. I'm sorry, but you
you're
were a
good.
fan as a kid. And so,
Yeah.
what were some of your favorites as a kid?
I mean, my all-time favorites. I mean, not necessarily as a kid, but all-time favorites. Of course, Undertaker.
Yeah.
Um, Triple H. Whether he was, even before DX.
Oh
When
yeah.
he
Yeah.
first came in, I always thought, he's pretty cool. I liked him. But as a kid, Rock and Roll Express, which, like I said, I got to be in the ring with them this last year at a show. It was definitely a dream of mine. I was able to work one of their matches. Um, Magnum TA, Dusty Rhodes, Nikita Koloff, that
Yeah.
era,
Yeah.
definitely watched them quite a bit. Of course, like I said, Hogan and Savage and, all those guys. But,
Yeah. I was
um,
more of an NWA guy growing up. Once I discovered the NWA, I should say.
right,
Yeah. So there was more of like a realism as opposed to the cartoonish WWF, you could say.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I appreciated that. I don't know. Tell me about No Regrets Wrestling. I have that here in my notes.
Yeah. That was my son's promotion.
That was your son's, and now they're
Yeah.
closing. Is that correct?
They closed, yeah, this
Yeah.
last June. Um, Unfortunately, was their last show. He's talked about maybe doing a show here and there,
Hmm.
kind of, special dates kind of thing, but I mean, as
Right.
far as the full out promotion, yeah, unfortunately, due to, the unforeseen circumstances,
Yeah.
so to speak, unfortunately they folded. Um, Again, last show was in June. Um, he's actually going to be working. My son is with another promotion here in Wisconsin that I'm actually going to be starting to ref for also. He's going to be a
Hmm.
little more behind the scenes part of it. I'll be, in the ring refing, and so we'll still be able to work together with my son, which, I'm definitely looking forward to.
Right. What's the scene out there like that? Do you guys have like a lot of promotions? Are you guys busy every weekend?
Um, yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of promotions out here. I mean, we have, like I said, ICW at a Milwaukee area that I work
Hmm.
with, Frozen Tundra, uh, River City up, La Crosse area, Great Lakes, which, is David Hero promotion.
I know that one. Don't they
Um,
have a YouTube series, Great Lakes?
I believe so. I'm not quite sure on that. I'll
It's
be
like
honest with you on
very
that.
small production, I believe, like a very small
Yeah.
building, if I remember correctly. I think I watched that. That's the one I've watched many times on YouTube, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, like you said, Chicago style out of Illinois,
Hmm.
Pinnacle, in Minnesota, Destination Six out of Illinois, Central Empire out of Iowa, who's
Hmm.
another one of my dream promotions I want to get with at least for a night. Because a few of the guys that wrestled for my son, with no regrets, also were with Central Empire out of Iowa. So I got to meet up with them. So hopefully, eventually I can do a show or two for them also. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely promotions. Um, Even more like, there's a few more of the hardcore death match style
Yeah.
promotions, like over Michigan. A little bit over ICW that I work with. They do a few matches here and there on that too, including their big Insane Eight card that they have
Right.
every summer.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's definitely promotions all over the place and some amazing, amazing talent. Both behind the scenes and in the ring or in front of the camera, so to speak. Both ways. It's
Right.
just
Why
unbelievable.
don't you talk about some of the talent in your area that you speak of?
Yeah, I mean, some big ones, are Joey Avalon, Sierra. Those are two of the huge names, Wisconsin, Illinois, Midwest area. Um, like I said, Marche Rocket, he's a pretty big name. Some other ones are like more getting bigger as they go along. We have like Jaden Mercer and CJ Cole, Chucky Bates. Then we have Leslie Michelle, Stacy Shadows. Just unbelievable talent. I have had the opportunity or the privilege, because to me it has been a privilege to work with a lot of them,
Right.
to be in the ring with them. Um, we have a couple of tag teams that I definitely enjoy working with, the Baker Boys and Ghetto Gear Solid. Ghetto Gear's out of the Milwaukee area. Worked with them and Bakers together. Um, yeah, great people to work with. Um, yeah, it's unreal. And some of the talented names, that we have. And I could definitely see some of them over the next few years making it to, WWE, NXT type thing. I would not
Right.
be surprised whatsoever to see some of them, within 3 to 5 years.
Has anybody from your area been ID'd?
Um, I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure as of yet.
Yeah.
Not nobody. I don't think that I've worked directly with.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I think some possibly from more like the Milwaukee area
Right.
that I haven't had a chance to work with.
Right. Okay. Okay.
So
Uh, you mentioned deathmatch wrestlings and stuff like that. Are you a fan of that style at all, or how do you feel about that?
I've never worked one of their matches yet.
Yeah.
But like I said, some of the guy, a couple of guys that I know, um, yeah, they're, for lack of a better term, they're nuts. In a nice way. I mean, 'cause
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
said, they're some of the coolest guys, but I mean, I don't know how they could do it. I mean,
I
you
could. I
got
wouldn't be
guys
able
doing
to.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have one guy that goes all over the place. I mean, Tennessee. I mean, out east, Tommy Trainwreck. He
Yeah.
goes by. He's phenomenal. I mean, just yeah, one of the most down to earth guys you could ever meet. But I don't know. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
you know.
I'm not, definitely not. Yeah, in that boat. I cringe at like hardcore wrestling sometimes. And there is a. I don't know if I want to necessarily put it on the line of deathmatch wrestling company or more of a hardcore thing, but they definitely do a lot of crazy stuff. There's a company out here. There's only one in our area in Connecticut, really, and it's they don't run that often, basically.
Sure.
So, and it's like and I guess they take their time and they put their thought into like the production aspect of it, but they have it's not the whole show won't end up being death match and gimmicky. A lot of it might be straight matches and then three main events worth of like death matches and stuff like that. So me, I personally
Yeah.
cringe at that stuff. I can't. It's hard for me to watch and tolerate stuff like that. I don't understand how people get into that stuff. It's too violent for me.
Yeah, I mean, the like I was saying, the one promotion that I work with out here, ICW, yeah, they're mostly, straight up wrestling, but they do
Hmm.
have like I mentioned, the Insane Eight, which is pretty much strictly all death match, a card of just that, like a tournament. So I
Yeah.
mean, you got guys wrestling multiple matches in one day of that style. And I'm like, yeah, like I couldn't do it. My daughter and I went because they did a like a double card
Right.
that day, and they were like the main card, and I did like the pre-show, so to speak, which just regular matches. But my daughter, who is 12, her and I stuck around for a little bit of the Insane Eight card, and yeah, we stuck around for 3 matches. Like, yeah, we're ready to go. I mean, I give those guys all the credit in the world, but yeah, I can't.
I wouldn't want to like some of those light tubes and gouging and all that stuff. And
Yeah,
I got to a chance to work a couple hardcore matches as a commentator, and like the barbed wire comes out and stuff like that, and I'm just like, oh God, I don't even know what to think and how those guys are feeling getting slammed onto it or punched with it and stuff like that. I'm more so nervous about getting my flesh ripped open by touching it. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I mean, I've worked a couple of hardcore matches, but which I mean are bad enough,
yeah,
violent enough. But yeah,
yeah,
when you get to those death match, so to speak, yeah, yeah, just wild.
yeah. What was your favorite match that you got to referee? I'm sure there was plenty. You know.
Um, and I've had Pretty much all my matches I've enjoyed. I mean, some I've been more nervous than others. Um, I did like said a while ago, about a month or so ago, I got to work with Heath Slater versus Onyx Andretti, who's one of our local guys. He's starting to travel a little bit more.
Well, I know the name.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it was an awesome night, awesome match. Super nice guys. Um, Even my last show that I refed for the year was an ICW show. That was this last Friday night. I had Jaden Mercer and CJ Cole, a couple of our local guys who, as I stated, I wouldn't be surprised to see them, get to WWE within the next few years.
Right.
CJ I've worked before. Jaden I never had, but I'd seen him enough. Knew him because I've been on the same shows with him. Just never was able to work his matches. But yeah, it was an awesome night. Of course, being able to work with Rock and Roll Express for a night. That was definitely a dream come true. But I'd say favorite matches, either probably Heath versus Onyx, or like I said the other night, CJ versus Jaden, which I'm sure there's many others that I've kind of spacing out on, and I feel bad. But I mean, there's been just so many
Oh,
amazing, great matches that I've had the opportunity and again privilege. I know I'm using that word quite a bit, but
yeah.
to me, being in
No.
the
Yeah.
ring with
Yeah.
those guys and the ladies too, because I've repped a couple of women's matches too. I mean, it's a privilege, for me to be in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So what do you got coming up in 2025?
ICW Milwaukee. It's going to be one of my main promotions. Like I said, I just started with them about August.
Yeah.
Got some shows lined up with them. Frozen Tundra. It's pretty much another one of my home promotions, so to speak. Going to be starting with Frontline Pro. They're expanding into two brands or entities. I'm going to be with their
Mm-hmm.
second branch, so to speak, their battle brand. Um, I got Battle Tested. Is another promotion here in town. I've never worked with them yet, but I will be. I guess I'm going to be with them on a regular basis. And both Frontline and Battle Test are owned by U.S. veterans, which to
Okay.
me kind of holds a special place in my. I mean, I'm not a veteran or nothing. I do have quite a few family members that are, but being working for veterans, it does hold a special place.
Right.
Without getting too sappy, again, a special place in my heart, so to speak. So I definitely look forward to working with both of them because they're going to be newer promotions for me. So that I know of, I've got, like I said, just in Wisconsin, probably 4 or 5 different promotions on a regular basis. If I can catch on, here and there, maybe as a fill-in with some other promotions, excellent. We'll just see how the year goes. I'm hoping this is going to be my biggest year yet, is what I'm
Yeah.
hoping for.
I
So
wish you the best of luck in that, and I hope that you have a great 2025 and going forward.
thank you. I appreciate it. It means a lot.
Thank you. Let's tell me about your Earl Hebner story. I see that your profile picture on Facebook is you and Earl Hebner. The
Yeah.
legend, by the way.
Yeah. I was supposed to rough down in Illinois one day, and I can't remember the exact how it happened, but somehow the plans fell through the day of. Well, in the meantime, I'd also gotten asked to ref that night for Great Lakes, um, championship wrestling here in Wisconsin. But of course, I had said no at first because I was supposed to go to Illinois. Was on my way down to Illinois. Plans fell through, for whatever reason. Got a hold of them quick. I'm like, hey, do you still need a ref for tonight? Like, yeah, we could use that. I'm like, all right. So my daughter and I turned around and drove about 4 hours from where we were at because we were just about to the Illinois state line
Right.
when we turned around. We went up to the northern part of the state, worked with Great Lakes that night, and Earl Hebner was there, making a special appearance there that night. Walked in, met the promoter for the first time, David Hero. I talked to him like online, but I never actually met him face to face.
Right.
He's like, hey, Earl Hebner's here tonight. He goes, let me make you one suggestion. And he kind of gave me like a suggestion, but not a suggestion, He's like, if you ever want to get booked again, sit and talk to him. Pick his brain a little bit. I mean, he didn't so much put it in those words, but
Right, right,
bottom line, that's pretty much what he was saying.
right.
He goes, pick his brain, blah, 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 do what you got to do. And I sat and even my daughter was with me, like I said, she's 12. She was like right in the conversation with us. I mean, he sat and talked to us, or must have been a good, because I got there pretty early. Must have been a good 45 minutes to an hour. Just,
Wow.
talk about anything and everything, including, of course, the Montreal screw job. Of course, that came out. I was trying to avoid it, but he actually brought it up. So I'm
Oh,
like, all
okay.
right, as soon as he brought it up, I'm like, it's all good. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was a great night. Like I said, picked his brain, and after each of my matches, I'd be like, which is for me a regular thing, no matter where I'm at, who I'm working for. I always ask either the promoter or the guys I'm in the ring with, okay, anything I missed, anything I screwed up on, because I'm always trying to improve.
Right.
Because I mean, I'll be honest with you, I never had any straight out formal training.
Okay.
I just went, by the seat of my pants kind of thing. Like I said, I started working for my son's promotion, just kind of went from
Thrown
there.
in there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I was picking his brain, doing what I could, and even after each match, okay, anything I missed, and this and that, and he was giving me suggestions, and he was complimenting me. But I did goof up, nothing serious, and he let me know it too. When I did do a little oops. But he was cool about it. He's very professional about it. Um, yeah, definitely another dream of mine was to be in the same building with him, let alone on the same card as him, because he did make an appearance in the main event.
Okay.
Um,
Well,
he made a little bit of an appearance, so I mean it was pretty cool. So I didn't work that match, but at least could say I was in the building with him, had my picture taken with him. So
how important is tape study now? You're talking about, learning and you're relatively young into the business still. How important is tape study basically? I know I go back and study my commentary and, for now I'm just working like 4 or 5 different companies and I'm about to debut for 3 different ones in the beginning of the year or, by the spring. And it's how important is studying yourself to try to improve? Because I know I do.
oh yeah, I do. I especially YouTube.
Hmm.
Some of the promotions I work for, whether it be the promotions themselves or just some of the wrestlers, put their matches on YouTube.
Right.
I'm constantly on there, whether it be just on my phone or actually on the TV. Watching YouTube, watching both myself and other referees. Um, seeing what they do, little how I can tweak my style, see what I messed up on, see what I did good at. Yeah, 'cause I mean, I know no match is going to be perfect,
Right.
but to me, and it's kind of going back to kind of going away from wrestling a little bit. I used to be a volunteer firefighter for
Okay.
16 years, right where I grew up at. One of the guys, he was an officer on the department at the time, and I'd been on the department maybe 6 months, if that. And we come out of a call, he's like, "What'd you learn today?" I'm like, whatever. I was 19, 20 years old,
Yeah.
whatever. I'm like, I didn't know I was supposed to learn something. I mean, that's what classes are for. He's like, no, he goes, you should be learning something at every single call, whether it's small, big, just learn something. And I've kind of done that into my refereeing too.
Hmm.
I should learn something every time, whether it be where to stand, where not to stand, different, how to get certain hints maybe from the guys and girls in the ring, you know, um, communication, it doesn't always have to be verbal communication, it can be like eye contact and
Right.
whatever else. But you should learn something before, during, after every match, whether it be
Yeah.
your match or somebody else's match if you're watching it from the back. You should always be learning something. So
Do
never
you
never be
ever?
satisfied, so to speak.
I'm definitely not. In the beginning, for probably the first 2 years, I could never listen to myself back. I cringed at the sound of my voice. I would always watch whatever show back on mute until and then over time, now I'm more comfortable, obviously, with doing it. You know what I mean? Because I've been doing it long enough, and it's just a lot easier now. And I try to pick up where I could have said what I could have said. if I just miscall the maneuver or whatever, So it's
Yeah.
pretty similar. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely my own biggest or worst critic.
Yeah.
Um, and I've had, of course, you've got people in the crowd every match. Oh, you missed this, you missed that. You got to come faster. Do this. Whatever. Which block them out. Whatever. Um, but to me, the biggest compliment from one of the wrestlers would be, the guys or ladies, whatever. So when you go up to them, and say, "Hey, anything I missed, anything I goofed up on?" Like, "Hey, to be honest with you, I didn't even realize you were in there." Meaning you didn't get in the way. You weren't getting attention for yourself. Which I have seen some referees kind of go a little overboard on stuff,
Right.
kind of get the attention on them rather than on the wrestlers, which definitely is not a good thing. So,
I
um,
know some referees. I know there's a guy locally that just always likes to get involved in the action and have a ref bump for every show. You know what I
yeah,
mean? It's just like, we'll give you a ref bump when it's necessary to get a ref bump. You know what I mean? Just stop trying. Like it's more about the two people that are in the ring than it is for yourself. You know what I mean? Trying to get these guys over, do what you're supposed to be doing.
yeah. And I mean, I've taken my share of bumps, over
Right.
the 2.5 years, including my first night as a ref. Which, yeah, I mean, just looking back, like we were saying, I had tape, I watched my first matches, when I was working for my son the first night, and just see from the comparison from then until now, I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Way
I'm like,
different, right? Yeah.
yeah, just night and day. Yeah. And I'm one that I don't mind taking bumps. I mean, I've gotten yelled at by, you know, my daughter a few times, and stuff like that. You shouldn't be doing that and blah blah blah. And she's gotten upset a few times thinking that I've actually gotten hurt, in the ring, which luckily I haven't, maybe just a
Yeah.
bump or a bruise here and there, but I've been fortunate enough to not, have any serious mishaps or anything in the ring. So
Yeah.
yeah, she's gotten upset at me a few times.
Yeah.
Because my daughter, she's definitely a daddy's girl too, which,
You'll
but
know, trust me, she'll know if it's legit or not.
yeah, and
If
I've
it's
and I've told her too, if you see, something specific, a certain sign, it's
right.
legit, and she knows too, but she kind of, she worries about me, and
Yeah.
of course, she has her favorite guys and girls that are in the ring too, and she worries about them, and she's gotten close with a few of the wrestlers that I've been able to work with. So,
Right. Right. So she's a wrestling fan as well. So you have a whole
oh my
wrestling
god,
family. Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. She gets more into the show sometimes than I do. We went to another show last night just as fans. Yeah, she was getting right in with it and talking to the guys and stuff. When they'd walk through, and it's just, yeah, yeah, and she wants to wrestle. She's already been saying that. When she gets a little older, so she's having a battle with her mom right now, and when she can start training, how old she has to be. So that's, to me, amusing that they keep going back and forth. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, she's even talked to Ken Anderson.
Hmm.
I happen to be on the same show as him a couple times. I haven't worked his match yet, unfortunately, but one night he said, I want to talk to her for a little bit. She kind of picked his brain a little bit, and he was totally cool with it, even though he was trying to, I think, head out for the night, head home. But
Right.
he stopped what he was doing and, said, I want to talk to her. And because he has his school up in Minnesota,
Yep.
which is a few-hour drive from us. So, yeah, I mean, she definitely wants to wrestle when she gets older. I mean, she's already helping out with like ring crew. Sometimes she's helped, set up the ring before, when I've been at shows, help taking down the ring, stuff like that. So she definitely likes to be involved, get right in there. She's not afraid to get dirty, so to speak.
That's awesome. That's really
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. My
Yeah.
kids have no aspirations of wrestling, and every time they're at a show with me, they hang out and be part of the ring crew. So they don't care about
Yeah.
the, they're not even there. They're there just because they come with me. They don't even really watch wrestling. But when they come and visit me, they'll be like, "Oh, is there any wrestling shows?" I said, "I thought you didn't like this stuff." So, but they'll, they'll still come. They still want to go, and they know it's a big part of my life.
Yeah. And with my daughter, I mean, her first wrestling show that she ever went to was actually when her mom was pregnant with her. We went to WWE Elimination Chamber in Milwaukee
Oh
back
wow.
in 2012, I think it was.
Okay.
So yeah, so she wasn't even born yet. She was already going to wrestling shows. So I mean, she's been hooked ever since.
That's
So
awesome. That's amazing. So
yeah,
she knew that you guys were wrestling fans. So yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, Greg, I want to thank you for being a part of this today.
no problem. And thank you for having me. I definitely appreciate it and
Absolutely.
definitely enjoyed it.
I'd like to have you back at some time. Maybe you can come by and we'll talk some random wrestling.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. Why don't you give your credentials and find out where if I have to edit this part, where people could find you.
Yeah. You know, Frozen Tundra Wrestling, mostly in Waterloo, Wisconsin. Most of my shows right now that I do have scheduled are in Wisconsin. Um, so I have Frontline Pro, Battle Tested, ICW Milwaukee, which is a lot in the West Dallas area,
Hmm.
suburb of Milwaukee. Those are shows that I have scheduled for right now. I have one coming up. I believe it's in February or March. I'd have to look at my calendar for Slam and Pro, another promotion here in Wisconsin. Um, yeah, I mean, right now, like I said, pretty much just in Wisconsin, but definitely wouldn't mind working out of state again. I mean, I have done a few shows in Illinois, Michigan, Minnesota. Haven't made it, like I said, unfortunately, to like Indiana or Iowa yet, but by the end of 2025, that's my goal. And I have that goal since the beginning of 2024 is pretty much do all the Midwestern states, at least one show by the end of 2025. And I'm already, about halfway there. So